Hey, all right, got this thing to work. Yeah, welcome back. So tonight we're going to be talking a little bit about that the fact that Trump doesn't need to be popular to win. And but before we get started, just remember this: don't make fun of kids who still believe in Santa Claus. There's adults out there that actually believe in Kamala Harris. All right, see you on the other side.
Break 'em on. This is America First Radio. Patriots, get your ears on because we're blowing the speakers out.
Lefty G. It is time for the Lefty G Show. The only show to get you right. Get ready to get right with Lefty. Your voice taking you down Freedom Road. Now, here's your host, Lefty G.
Let's hit the fucking road!
All right, happy Thursday, everybody. We're close to the weekend. Here we are. We're coming up on Friday. We got one more day, and I hope everyone is having a good evening. But yeah, so that's kind of what I want to talk about. Donald Trump doesn't need to be popular to win, and we all know he probably won't be. But there's a good chance that Donald Trump is actually going to lose the popular vote because of the roles of states like California, New York, and Illinois, deep blue states. And there's about a 55% chance that he'll win the Electoral College. The Electoral College itself, this is a whole other topic that we need to discuss at some point. But there's been a change, I would have to say probably in the last 72 hours or so, that there has been a cumulative effect, I would say, on the Democrats because of Kamala's crap interview, or I should say interviews lack thereof. There's a great anger regarding the economy, specifically with this, I don't know if you guys have been paying attention, but this whole longshoremen's union deal that where they want to bring in AI, and the union saying it's going to take some of the workers' rights away, and all this kind of workers' ability to work and their rights and all this kind of stuff. So we're kind of watching that unfold, that strike that's happening out there. But there's a lot of anger with the economy specifically. There's also worry about the Middle East. That's not getting any better anytime soon. But then again, the Middle East has been a powder keg. And let's not forget that, the 4 years that Trump was our president previous is we had 4 years of peace. So I got to say that I think the Middle East is one of those things that you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. And I'm beginning to think that because of the amount of thousands of years they've been fighting out there, I think we're damned if we do regardless. But I think people are upset about that. I think that's something that's happening. And I think they worry about the reaction of this government as in its response to natural disasters. I think this is another point of anxiety coming into this election for many people. And these are just my thoughts and impressions as we go down to the day of voting. I mean, we're getting close. I mean, we're right around the corner, and November 5th is going to be here before any one of us knows it. And I think that we need to be aware of what's in front of us. So these are some of my thoughts and impressions I wanted to share with a lot of you. But when I look at the data, it does seem that Donald Trump will get the higher youth vote, kind of like what we talked about last night on the show, is that they're going to get the black vote. I think he's going to get the black vote, the Latino vote. I think more than he really got in 2020. And when you look at the history of the polls, going back to say in 2016 and 2020, he could be within 2.5 points and probably be even in the popular vote. So that's kind of what's happening right now. If you guys have kind of read the polls, and polls are a little squishy, but they're a good barometer for the most part. Trump appears to be that much behind right now. Right around 2.5%. But he could come within even with that. But if you look at the key states that he's in right now. He appears to be ahead in states like Nevada and Arizona and Georgia and North Carolina. And right now he's dead even with camel toe in Pennsylvania. So, if you're a cynic, you could say that He's going to have to do better than that, probably. We know what happened last time, and he probably does have to do better than that, because there could be some irregularities in the balloting. And I only say that because the most of the ballots are controlled in blue cities. Let's face it. A lot of these cities are Democrat controlled, Chicago being one of them, Newark, LA, San Francisco. A lot of these cities are blue cities, even though they might be in red states. Like, you go 30 miles outside of Chicago until you get to Springfield. It's a pretty red state, a lot of Republicans. So I would say Illinois is definitely a good example of that. But moreover, what I mean is the workforce that counts the ballots are overwhelmingly for, in this particular case, Harris or Democrats traditionally. So we have to be careful for those ballot irregularities. One of the things Donald Trump has done and may have helped him in his baseline success in his campaign is his aggressive touring of blue states. And with early voting that has already begun, it appears that this shows predictions, at least my predictions, that are spot on point. In several states, by the way, it appears that the GOP has already increased its early voting requests. And it will be more difficult for the commies to really fuck with the election this time around, especially when all the polling is flashing red right in front of the Dems' faces. I think, make it unstealable, I think is really what, Donald and his gang are trying to do. Make sure that it can't be stolen. Too big to steal, I guess is a good way to put it. And, Donald Trump is marginally ahead in all of the swing states. And if we assume polling differentials, it does appear that all of this, in order for a Trump victory, barring any sabotage, from the Dems or its operatives, I should say, one of the catalysts here that is going to be a good differential is the fact that what Trump is doing. He's fighting against that blue wall, and Trump is fundraising, obviously, in hopes to get campaign contributions and raise enthusiasm, is savvy as well as smart. He can go to a part of the country, as he has been. He's been going to the part of the countries that hasn't seen a Republican in, let's just say 1,000 years, or it seems like forever, for whatever the fuck it is. And when those people are, when they're there and they hear a better message for the first time in their collective lives, I think a lot of decisions are going to be made at that point. And I think that's where a lot of people are kind of starting to understand that, Trump is obviously a lot more savvy than we probably gave him credit for. Check this out.
There was once upon a time that to be a Republican in this area of the country felt a little bit like being Gary Cooper in High Noon, outnumbered in a big way. But I remember the story of a fellow who was running for office as a Republican, and he was in a rural area and it wasn't known to be Republican, and he stopped by a farm to do some campaigning. And when the farmer heard he was a Republican, his jaw dropped and he said, "Wait right here till I go get Ma. She's never seen a Republican before." So he got her, and the candidate looked around for a podium from which to give his speech, and the only thing he could find was a pile of that stuff that Bess Truman took 35 years trying to get Harry to call fertilizer. So he got up on the mound, and when they came back, he gave his speech. And at the end of it, the farmer said, "That's the first time I ever heard a Republican speech." And the candidate said, "That's the first time I've ever given a Republican speech from a Democratic platform."
So that's, history's repeating itself there. That's exactly almost one of the ways that Reagan beat both Carter and Mondale, by going into these, blue-walled states and giving them a different message. And that's enthusiasm. And that's precisely what Trump is doing. He's building up the enthusiasm in these less, regarded, I guess, in the past by Republicans, these less regarded states. And it's working because he is offering a new marketplace of ideas that many of these folks have never heard before. Trump, again, if you look at the polling right now, he has a clear advantage in 5 of the 6 main battleground states. His blue state interests is shrewd and very savvy. And it's obviously working for him. And it was one thing that the Dems were not expecting. And the results are there, period. Basically, every other demographic besides white females are moving towards conservatism. A lot of that can be tracked to the campaign successes of Donald Trump that he's made. This movement has grown so large and it's so flexible that it isn't going anywhere anytime soon. And if you ask me, what's Trump after? What do you think he's after? I guess he wants to really set a strong foundation for what MAGA really is, and what's the future of the MAGA movement? You ask. I mean, who would that be? I would probably say it'd be J.D. Vance. Obviously, he's one of them. Maybe Rand Paul would be another one. This guy Ram Ushami, I think he's pretty sharp. And as I mentioned her before in last night's show, Tulsi Gabbard. I'm telling you, watch out for this Hawaiian. she slam dunked on Camel Toe Harris once already, and I think like Reagan, she was a former Democrat, and I think there's a real future for her as our first female president. Woman president. But okay, moving on. So the beauty about all this, I guess, is Trump doesn't have to be popular, quote unquote, popular to win. In other words, the popular vote doesn't trump the Electoral College. Never has and never will. And this alone is what the commie libby-loo-hoos hate about the election process. They forget that we are a constitutional republic and not a democratic society. Now, the Electoral College, just a little bit of a history lesson here. The Electoral College was established right at the beginning of this nation of ours, right at the beginning of this country. By Article 2, Section 1, Clause 2 of the U.S. Constitution, the Electoral College is the institution through which the next president of the United States is chosen, period, not the popular vote. There are, 538 total electors who can cast their vote, and the presidential candidate, I should say, must achieve a simple majority of the electoral votes of 270 to win the election. But more on the Electoral College and why it needs to be protected on another show. But because the Dems, they want to get rid of it. They want a mob rules kind of mentality, and we can't let that happen. And that's why it's here for a reason. But more to that on another show. But my point here is Trump will most likely not win the popular vote, but will win the Electoral College. And then that's that. The Don is back in the White House, and, gas is $1.88 again. And that's what I'm leaning towards. And, Trump is going to win the election. And with vigilance, we can assure there will be no foul play, in the ballot counting. We got to make sure that. But I still stand behind my commitment that Trump does win this election. I know about a week ago I said he probably had about a 90%, and I upped it to 92%. I'm pretty positive right now, coming into the last few weeks prior to people pulling their ballots, for whomever, before the voting is completed. I think he's got about a 95% chance of winning the election. And really, I don't give a fuck about the popular vote, and really neither should you. And that's everything. And I guess we're going to see you guys all out at the polls. Kind of a quick hitter tonight, but happy Thursday and getting ready for the weekend. And please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell button to continue being part of the Lefty G experience. And again, guys, thank you very much. Peace through strength. Good night.